Hi, Francois. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Sorry for the communication error there. And wonderful. Thank you for availing your time this time on a Monday afternoon. We thank you that you're going to enlighten our listeners about this very important act. Francois, but before we start, would you mind to tell us about yourself and the company that you're involved with?
Certainly. I'm a director at the management consulting firm Kriel & Co. We advise clients on data privacy in association with the law firm ENS Africa. And as consultants, we focus on the practical elements of data protection.
Okay, wonderful. So it's very relevant with regards to. On the line, we also have our co-host, Professor Quentin Johnson. Very good afternoon to you, Prof. And if you have something to ask to Francois, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, Monet. Francois, welcome. It's nice to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm not sure. Oh, fantastic. I was just just before you came on, I was saying to Monet that our foundation, also had to comply by 1 July. And for instance, I was registered as an information officer. And I was just wondering if you could perhaps, just tell our listeners, especially, business owners and so on, about what is required, of them. We took a small step, but I know there are many more steps, Francois.
That is correct. If you consider the steps required by businesses to be compliant, I think it's important to note that there's no one-size-fits-all tick box or to-do list approach to reach an appropriate level of compliance with the POPIA. And there's also no certification that one is fully POPIA compliant, in inverted commas. It is in fact a journey and an ongoing commitment, and I think it differs very much among different organizations. But it's important to, I think, as you said, understand what the duties are of an information officer, and that's a very good starting point, as well as to do a data privacy impact assessment, which business owners can facilitate by themselves using a credible framework or from the support of a attorney consulting team such as ours.
Thank you so much. Very important, as you say. Prof was mentioning about the appointment of an officer, specific officer in a company that must sort of take responsibility, especially for these matters. What officer did he refer to, and why is it so important that you must have an allocated person within a business to look at these matters?
Given the importance of data protection, it's very important that there is a dedicated person tasked with managing the flow, processing, storage, retention of information in an organization. The POPIA specifies an information officer by default as the head of organization, but it can also be delegated to someone else in the organization by means of an appointment letter, and that person should be a fairly senior resource in a business. Typically, what we are seeing is there are a lot of people in IT, but also in various other functional areas taking on the role.
Yes, so are these some of the very important steps that businesses should take if they want to be compliant to the Act?
Yes, so I think it's important to empower yourself with the right information. And there's a lot of fake news out there, especially on social media, on what POPIA is and is not. So it's very important to consider following trusted sources such as the South African Information Regulator or credible firms like ENS and ourselves to empower you. And by informing yourself about the duties of an information officer, it would be a fantastic starting point.
Francois, can people actually contact your company if they want advice or want to make use of your services? How do they go about?
Certainly, thank you. We in fact advise small businesses all the way to large multinational corporations. And for small businesses in particular, we have a self-help toolkit approach that may resonate with your listeners. So you can visit krielandco.com and inquire there if you feel like you would need support on your data privacy journey. That's krielandco.com.
Okay, splendid. Wonderful. Prof, anything final to Francois from your side?
Yes, no, I'm glad Francois is online because I think this is quite important. And I was just saying earlier, Francois, wow, there's a great deal of information there around POPIA and so on. And it could be perhaps a little bit overwhelming for all of us, and I think that kind of guidance, that firms such as yourself in association with ENS could offer could be very, very good. Can I just ask you perhaps from my end a final question for now? If I'm a sort of small business, yes, I'll go to Kriel, and is it krielandco.com, did you say?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Right. But can you tell our listeners sort of now, generally speaking, once you register as an information officer, and I must say that process wasn't difficult at all, what would you say the next immediate step would be that businesses can and should take, to comply? As you said, it's a journey. And I agree with you. What would the next small step be after, there's a registration of someone in the company as an information officer? Francois?
So in our toolkit, we advise as a starting point that a business takes a very good look at itself, its processes, and determines the gaps practically and legally where it stands with POPIA. And we call that a self-assessment or a self-assessment questionnaire. Yes. And that really gives you a very good idea of where the gaps lie. And then there's also a more thorough investigation one can consider, but I think that's generally a very good step to take, and then that informs your roadmap, as you say.
Indeed. And then just perhaps, something even simpler for those who may administer, WhatsApp groups by way of example. We were just talking a little bit about that. What are the implications for administrators of WhatsApp groups vis-a-vis POPIA?
I think it's important to note this is a domain of the law that is quite grey, and it depends on if you use the WhatsApp group for business purposes or for personal purposes. But it's important to note and go and have a look at what the app actually focuses on. And something like purely household activities, to my understanding, falls outside of the considerations. And there is a very good opinion that ENS shared, I think it was on their blog, on administrators for WhatsApp groups. So it's important to empower yourself with the information about what the app does focus on and does not focus on.
Super. Thanks very much, Francois.
Thank you so much. Francois, thank you so much for your time, and wonderful. I trust that we can do so in the near future and chat about these and other important matters pertaining small businesses. Hi, Francois.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Okay, great. Thank you. There's a little bit of delay. Thank you, Francois, and all of the best with the rest of this Monday evening. Thank you.
Thank you to you too.
Thank you. Take care. Wonderful. That was Mr. Francois Kriel from Kriel & Co. You could actually go to krielandco.com if you want to find out more. But quite interesting and very relevant, Prof. The fact that the POPIA Act has come into effect from the beginning of July, and that all businesses have to be compliant with regards to how we do our business, and especially with regards to how we deal with the information of our clients.